Bonjour tout le monde. So here we have the focus long for dossier 3 leçon 5, and you'll notice that this is the last lesson for this chapter before we move on to dossier 4. So we'll be adding to our list of tenses that we have seen so far in the course le plus que parfait, also known as the past perfect in the past perfect in English. So again, premièrement, fonction et formation, j'utilise le plus que parfait pour parler d'une action antérieure à une autre action au passé. So basically, what we're trying to tell you here is, let's just say if you have a timeline, okay, you have le présent here. So right now we're speaking le présent. Okay, so we have two events in the past. Plus que parfait would be the first event happening in the past in relation to the second event. The second event, as we'll see, will be in passé composé. Okay, so just for now, just know that whatever first event happened in the past will be in plus que parfait. So how do we even conjugate this plus que parfait? Let's take a look. So far we have some verbs conjugated in that tense. So j'avais mangé, j'étais sorti, s'était amusé. Okay, notice this. Okay. What we have to do first of all is realize that the auxiliaire, okay, is in imparfait. And the verbs that we're trying to conjugate would be in participe passé. So what does that remind us of? Of course, that reminds us of passé composé. Remember passé composé, if I were to conjugate this, that would be et manger. Oops. Right? The first one was in présent, so the auxiliary would be in présent, followed by the participe passé. Notice that here, what changes is in plus que parfait, the auxiliary is conjugated in imparfait, but the rest stays the same. Okay, so like in passé composé, the second part of the formation would be in participe passé. Okay, so the first thing that you need to do is you need to be very confident with your conjugation of imparfait, right? Because that will imparfait with avoir and être, and then of course your participe passé should be already pretty good because we've already done passé composé. Remember that it follows the same rules. So être, when I say être ou avoir, I'm talking about the auxiliary. So être is for Dr. Mrs. Van de Champ, so sortir is part of the Dr. and Mrs. Van de Champ fam, but manger is not, so we're going to be using avoir here and être here, and again for pronominal verbs. All right, so this is something that you might see on the test on Friday, November 13, is just to conjugate the following verbs in plus que parfait. So let's take a look. Elle a préféré téléphoner à l'entreprise pour convenir d'un rendez-vous qu'elle envoyer une dizaine courriel resté sans réponse. Okay, so how would I do that? Envoyer, is that part of the Dr. Mrs. Van de Champ fam? No. So what we're going to do, let me find my red pen. Avait envoyé, right? Remember, if it's not part of Dr. Mrs. Van de Champ, it's clearly not a pronominal verb. We're going with avoir. And what's avoir in imparfait? Avait, and then the participe passé. Okay, remember, I'm not adding an e because it's not être. Okay. Lorsqu'il est parti en mission à Santiago, il déjà travaillé au Chili une première fois. Travailler, we'll know, again, it's not part of Dr. Mrs. Van de Champ, so we're going to be using avoir travaillé. Okay. Le directeur de l'entreprise m'a engagé car j'étais le seul candidat qui se renseignait sur l'entreprise. Notice that this one is pronominal, so I'm going to be using être. Okay, so it will be s'était renseigné. Okay, perfect. So I'm not going to be adding an e here, even though it would have been right if you're a girl. Remember here, it's le seul candidat. Okay, so we already know that it's a guy that's talking. Okay, just make sure that you're very mindful of these little things, even on the exam. What I want to do now is let's take a look at to what event happened first. Elle a préféré téléphoner à l'entreprise pour convenir d'un rendez-vous qu'elle a envoyé une dizaine courriels restés sans réponse. So this is the first event that happened first, right? She sent off a lot of emails. And then she realized, okay, this is not working, so I'm going to be calling people. Okay, so this event happened first, and then that event happened second. Because this event happened first, this is going to be plus que parfait, and then the rest would be in passé composé. Lorsqu'il est parti en mission à Santiago, il avait déjà travaillé au Chili pour une première fois. So this happened first because he worked in Chile first, and then he went to Santiago the second time. Okay. Same thing here. I was the only candidate that inquired myself on the company. That's why the director hired me. Okay, so that's why we're using plus que parfait here, because it's the first event that happened. Okay, so we're gonna do another example. For instance, this one. En mai 2017, j'ai obtenu un master. Quelques mois auparavant, j'avais suivi des cours en français. Okay, that's another key term here that will entail plus que parfait is auparavant. So before even receiving a master, that's pretty clear. I had to take some courses in French. So that's the first event, which explains why I have plus que parfait followed by imparfait here. Okay, because that happened second. Le directeur me demandait si je à l'étranger pour des missions professionnelles. Okay, so let's just say I'm on an interview. The director is asking me if I went abroad for professional missions. So of course this had to happen first. Okay. See. And remember, aller is part of Dr. Mrs. Vandersham. So j'étais allée, and again here I'm going to put an E just because we don't know what the gender is. So that's going to be plus que parfait because I know that happened first. And then this one would be passé composé. Okay, hopefully that was helpful. Just so you know that for the test this Friday, you're not going to be choosing between passé composé and imparfait. It's only testing your conjugation skills for that one. D'accord, merci tout le monde.